Hi and welcome to another Sims 4 YouTube video. My name is SunnyCreations, if you don't know me, and I build a lot in The Sims. And when you're building a lot in The Sims, you start to get opinions about items, like about build items, about the build mode, and about stuff that you wish you had in build mode. And there used to be stuff packs. We actually had 2 stuff packs like this where we were able to decide on the items that we wanted to be in a stuff pack, about like the whole like theme of the stuff pack and the color scheme and stuff. And that was a bunch of fun. I loved participating in both of those surveys so much. One was for laundry day and the other one was for nifty knitting, but we haven't gotten another stuff pack in a while, and especially we haven't gotten another stuff pack that we were able to vote for in a while. And so what I have been very desperately trying to do and figure out in my head for a while were kinds of items that I stumbled upon not having for a long time that I really wish we had in The Sims. And so I thought I would just compile them all in a little presentation for you, and I hope I'm going to be able to make it entertaining. But yeah, I think a lot of you are going to be able to relate to some of the things that I point out, because most of you are probably builders in The Sims 4 too, and also maybe agree with some of them, maybe even disagree with some of them. And if you disagree with an item, if you say no, I do not want this in The Sims, then please let me know in the comments like which item that is and why, because I am totally down for like conversations about these objects that I thought would be cool having in The Sims. And another thing is that if I missed an item that you stumbled upon wanting to have in The Sims before, I would also love it if you would let me know, like a list, maybe a little list of the items that you would want in The Sims if they would make you like a creative director of a stuff pack that is focused around building. What kind of things would you put into that stuff pack? Please let me know. I like, this is one of the video where that I hope I get any comments, because this would be the video where I would be most excited about the comments, because I'm just so curious what other people think of this and which items other people would like have in mind if they put themselves in the decision where they could make the ultimate decision of what items we get in The Sims. But let's start with my items. The first one that we desperately need in The Sims, in my opinion, are decorative cushions that are kind of like removed from a very specific like couch or sofa, but that we basically have to freely put on sofas or couches that maybe don't have cushions yet, or even on like some chairs, or just in a corner somewhere, or on some like love chairs and stuff. So yeah, I really want to have cushions, but I want multiple cushion items. So first of all, I want some cushions that kind of stand alone, with some nice patterns, with some nice colors, like some muted colors, but also maybe some like nice prints and stuff. That would be nice. But also I want different piles of cushions. So sometimes I want cushions kind of like neatly next to each other. Sometimes I want these cushions who have been like kind of sliced, not really sliced, but like attempted to be sliced. I know that people don't really attempt to slice the cushions when they do that kind of like chop thingy, but I don't know how else to describe it, so I hope you get what I mean. So I want them like next to each other. I want them like sliced, I'm just going to call it that, but I also want them in like piles on top of each other, for example, to put them next to a couch as a decoration item. But I also want them on like a more chaotic pile, kind of on top of each other. I think there would be a possibility for the Sims team to give me a kit that is only cushions in different colors, in different like prints, and in different configurations and amounts, and I'd be the happiest Sims player in the world, just because like when I try to do base game builds, especially, of course, like if it were a kit it wouldn't really be base game, but especially when I do base game builds, I really realize that we don't have a base game couch that has any sort of cushion on it, or any kind of pillow. I could also say, I don't know which one's the right word. I hope I haven't like used a wrong word the entire time already, but yeah, so that would is an item that would make me really, really happy to have in The Sims 4. The second item that I want to talk about is an alarm clock. So in The Sims 3, we had this really pretty, like vintage alarm clock, and I really want it back. So yeah, in The Sims 4, we only have one alarm clock that you can kind of realistically put on your bedside table, and I really want more diversity in items that we can put on a bedside table, and I really want to sort of like mix things up. And so I would really like a really nice vintage alarm clock, but if we got like a very nice, more modern alarm clock, I wouldn't complain either. The next thing that I want to talk about is a nice gaming setup. So we really have a lot of need for a nice gaming setup in The Sims, and maybe some sort of computer that already comes with multiple screens, or I don't know, just something really nice. You can see some of the examples that I put down here, and there are like so many different ways that you can make a gaming setup look good. But even Animal Crossing has like such a better like gaming setup for us to use in build mode than The Sims has, because all of these Sims computers look like they are from 2010, and those are the most modern computers that we have in The Sims. And I think it's like it's so long overdue that we get like some nice current computers and gaming setups with like multiple screens and like a nice microphone and some nice speakers and stuff. And like I usually am a huge fan of like when the Sims separates items into different items, like for example with the plant kit room divider item that we got, there are like these beautiful plants in pots that I like bound to that item that I would love to have as a standalone item, because they are just so beautiful. But I don't have them because they're all compiled into one item. But with the gaming setup, if we have like one desk that is already set up with like a microphone and nice speakers and like multiple and multiple screens and stuff, I don't mind. Like, I don't mind if we don't have that PC as like a standalone item, and it comes with like the desk all completed as one item. Like, if that makes it easier for the Sims team. I don't know if that's easier to do if you compile it into one item. I guess it is, because it doesn't have to fit on every single type of desk that we already have that way. But yeah, I really feel like we need some modern like gaming equipment, and not just for gaming, also for work. Two desktops can be very, very vital. And I think especially now with home office, the last 2 years, a lot of people have like invested in more monitors and like a more modern like PC setup just to be able to work better. So I think that's something that we really, really need. The next one that I want to talk about is not something that is so functional or that we so desperately need, but this is more of like a personal favorite, because there are these beautiful plants that are a little bit like ivy, but I don't think they're actually called ivy plants. I don't really know what they're called at the moment, and they grow down. So they grow over like one area of the pot, and then they grow down. And I think these items would be so nice on like shelves. So we have a lot of like shelf items for our walls, and these would just add so much character to them. But they would also be so nice to place on kind of like a side table, for example, for an entryway or something. They would just add so much character, and I would love to use that. And I think if we had this item as standalone, kind of like the hanging plant that we got in the plant kit, and also in the paranormal stuff pack, that also kind of hangs down there, that I also use in every single builds since they came out. Not every single one, I also did some base game ones since those packs came out, but every single like builds where I had them available, I think I used them. But those are hanging plants. They're hanging from the ceiling, and like that's nice and all, but sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I want this item on a shelf, and I have found myself in this situation frequently where I just like lowered that one down from the ceiling and tried to act like it was standing on the shelf, but then and there was also always like the chain in the way, and I had to cover it up with something. And so I would really love that as a standalone item, and also with like some very nice swatches for the flower pot that it comes in. So like a nice white swatch, and maybe like a nice like cream yellow, but then also like a light blue, and maybe like a pastel green or something. And also there is this beautiful material, I think it's called sisal or something. So it's basically braided jute. And I hope you know what material I'm talking about. Maybe I can put a picture on the screen, the magic of editing. But yeah, so like a flower pot made of that material, like we already have with this one gorgeous plant in The Sims, that would be incredible too, like to have as a flower pot for this. And I think it would be really nice for all different kinds of like cottagecore and like whimsy and witchy, and maybe also some like boho builds. I think that could be really, really nice. And while we were on the topic of flower pots, with this one, I'm not really talking that much about the plant that is in there. I would kind of like a tall plant in a pot like this for The Sims, but maybe also like a very tiny plant, like you can see on that one picture that I've put on screen. But I have been obsessed, I don't know why, but I've been kind of obsessed with flower pots like this, who are like on these little stilts and then just like plain white. I don't know, I think they're so beautiful. I think you could do this with like a bunch of different wood types, and we don't have a flower pot like this in The Sims, and I think it's really pretty. So this is all just also not one that we like desperately need and that we've been waiting for decades and stuff, but this is like just a personal pleasure kind of thing. But next one is one that is a little bit more important. So heaters. I don't need them to be functional. I know we have like with seasons, we have like that thermostat, and with the vampires pack, we have like a vintage heater that we can put in builds. But I just think that heaters are such a realistic thing that so many people have in their houses. Of course, a lot of houses also have like floor heating. So like the heating lines are like underneath the floor, and then it heats like the room like that, and that's very modern and that's very cool. But still, like there are just like when I try to recreate a real life house, there are always like heaters, and I would just love to be able to add that sort of realism aspect as like a wall decoration or something. And I don't know, I don't think it's too complicated to make, and like the whole realism argument also works for the next item that I really want, which is light switches. So I am totally fine with how the lights work in The Sims, that your sim either enters a room and it turns on, or they are always on or always off, and those are the three modes. I don't want to change that. I don't want your sims to have to turn on the light switch, but I would love to have light switches as a wall decoration and as like a decorative item that you can add to add realism to your builds and your rooms. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe to some people it would also be annoying, because maybe some people want that realism in their build, but because it doesn't have a functionality, they just put that one into rooms out of obligation, and maybe to some people it could be tedious, like similar to the toilet paper object that we have in The Sims that also doesn't serve a purpose in The Sims, but we always put into our bathrooms just to add that realism, or it's like too expensive to not serve a purpose, and so it's just like out of obligation and maybe more an annoyance to put it in. But still, I am happy that we have toilet paper in The Sims, and you're not obligated to put these into your rooms if you don't want to. So I think it would be something very similar with light switches in The Sims if we had that as like an item, just to like for the people who want more realism in their rooms to be able to do so. The next item is one that I also heard Little Simsy talk about, and I totally agree. I have seen so many cute inspiration pictures of kitchens with beautiful toasters in like light blue colors or like a pastel green as well. I think I kind of get like a theme for the like color schemes that I want in these items for like my personal stuff pack. So I always want like a white, a plain white, a plain black, then I want like a cream or a beige white, I want a light blue, maybe a nice dark blue, and then maybe a muted dark blue would be nice, and then also like a turquoise minty kind of pastel green color. I think that's a color palette that I would really like to work with, and then really nice wood swatches and wood colors. That would be the dream. I think so. Yeah, toasters. They don't need to be functional for me as well. Like for example, with the coffee machine and stuff, we have the ability to put that into our kitchens, and they also serve a functionality which I never use. And I would also be happy to just have that coffee machine if it didn't serve a purpose, because I just put it into kitchens for aesthetics, if I'm completely honest. And I would love to do that with toasters as well. Of course, it would be cool if you could actually get like some food from toasters, especially for breakfast and stuff, that your Sims don't always need to make breakfast on a stove, which I think most of us do not do in our day-to-day lives. So yeah, the next one is a drum set. That one is a little bit personal because I know there are a bunch of like instruments that are still missing from The Sims. We basically only have a piano, guitar, and a violin, but then like multiple of those. But I would really like a drum set because my boyfriend is a drummer, and I do have a drum set behind me, behind that like curtain. I don't know if you can see it. Like there is a drum set. And like when I tried to recreate my apartments and stuff, I always put like that more modern piano instead of the drum set. But I think it would be like a very nice and aesthetic item to have, especially if you want to build like, I don't know, I don't want to like promote any stereotypes, but I immediately imagine like I don't know, rebellious teenager and stuff, and they just like have this like loud item in their room to just like let out all of that frustration. I know that's not the only thing that you can do with the drum set, but still that's like something that I would find very useful to kind of like translate character into the decoration of a room. So I think a drum set would be cool, but also like all sorts of other items like a trumpet or a saxophone or something would be really, really cool. The next one, a spiral staircase. So for the longest time, I don't think we all had much hope for that item, me included. But then we got the ability to configure stairs. We finally got a ladder. Now that we have that, and it took so long, I think there is still hope for us to get a spiral staircase item. It just needs the same functionality as a ladder. I would class it as like a 2x2 square item from like space-wise, and then we would finally have a spiral staircase, and that would just make me the happiest Sims builder in the world. The next one is the one that we don't need as much as the spiral staircase, and we have not been waiting for it as long as the spiral staircase because we already have a bunch of art, and also we have gallery art. Which is when people let their Sims paint like some CC and stuff, and they upload it to the gallery, and it just like, I don't know, it's beautiful artwork that is very nice to decorate your houses with. But I do still would like some more like muted, neutral, like plant-based sort of art in The Sims. I don't know, it's just me, but I would just like to have more of that, because we have these like 3 leafy images from Tiny Living, and I use them always and everywhere, and I would just like love to have more diverse sort of art that I can do the same thing with. Next up is books. So we have the functionality that these like little book items also serve as a bookshelf, which I think is so useful, especially for tiny builds and macro houses and stuff. But I recently noticed that we have like most of these book items that we have like these like creatures left and right to them, or like just something to frame them, which is kind of like impractical if you want to fill up an empty shelf with your own custom bookshelves. So I always need to cover them up, and then it's always like glitchy, or some things are sticking out and I don't really like it. And also like one thing is we have 2 items, I think, with like bunnies left and right to books. So that means that we have more book items with bunnies than book items without anything, because that's just one that is of the functional ones that doesn't have like anything left and right, and I don't want to repeat that one over and over again. But I also don't need the bunnies left and right, so I want more books like that bland one without other like things left and right, and I want one item of that with like normal like modern books, and one of those with like some like very old like vintage kind of whimsy magical looking books. That would be awesome. Then the next one, I know that we already have like a bunch of kitchen sets. Of course you can never have enough, but there's one kind of kitchen that I am really missing, and it is a kitchen with like a very, very nice wooden countertop. So I think the country kitchen and cottage living kitchens have wooden countertops, but the like lower half of those kitchens is not very modern. It's like very used, but the lower half of those kitchens is not very modern. It's like, I don't know, like very used, very old looking, and it's not the vibe for every sort of build. So I would really wish that we would have like a modern like downstairs of the kitchen counters, but then with a very nice wooden countertop, and I think that just would be a very, very versatile kitchen. And so I kind of like compiled some images of like kitchens like I imagined them, and these all have like white swatches, but I also think like this sort of wooden countertop could look so good with like some other swatches as well, like for the downstairs area. So of course I want like a white and nice wooden countertop swatch. I would also like to have like that white those like white shelves and stuff with like different sorts of like wood. So you could have like a very nice and light and muted wood, then you can have like a more saturated wood, and then a darker wood. I think that would be optimal, and then have that not only for the white but also for a nice black swatch, a light blue, like a muted dark blue, and then again like a light yellow or beige or cream color, and then also like a muted green. That would just like be my perfect kitchen in The Sims. Then the next one is fancy plates like this to decorate dining rooms with, because of course like you with your sim you can set the table, and then like this table setting appears when you like switch in and out of build mode into life mode and let your sim do those things. And I think the options that we have there are fine, but I don't really love them. Like most of them, I usually go with the casual setting and then the yellow swatch for it to kind of look lived in. But there again, I would love to have some that have like this underground with this like sisal material or like jute material, and then like some very, very nice plates on top. And I would just love that to have that in build mode as an item to be able to set your table, and then for your sims to be able to use that also to define like seating spaces. I just think that would be neat. Next one is a sketchbook, because I'm an artist and I love to sketch and I love to draw, and of course we already have like a bunch of stuff for artists. We have an easel, and we also have like that graphic tablet already in The Sims. But what I would really love to have would be just a traditional sketchbook that your like child sims could have on their desk as an item, and then they could just like go in and draw and raise their creativity, or later their painting skill. I just think that would be such a realistic and neat item to have, and also like very aesthetic, and I would just love to have a sketchbook in The Sims. And of course like the coolest way to execute that would be for you to be like similar to like homework or your Sims diary, in that sense, that it's like a book that your sim can also have in that in their inventory, and so they could also, for example, go to a park and like just whip out their sketchbook and like practice their drawing skill or their painting skill. That would be super cool. But also if it would be a stationary item that you need to place on your desk in order to use it, I would totally take that too. Next up are fairy lights. So we already have like that one, like we have two kinds of fairy lights. The one is the one that we got, I think, in that like free Christmassy kind of pack. I could be wrong, but I don't really like that one because the yellow of the light bulbs is very like unnatural, and also it's like very two-dimensional. So if you look at it from the side, it disappears, which is, I don't think, the current standard of build items in The Sims anymore. And then we have the really, really pretty ones from Parenthood, but these ones are like very dangly and long, and so I would like some different sorts of fairy lights. So I would like one with like bigger light bulbs as well, sort of similar to the Christmas one, but like made better, and in different configurations, not hanging as low as the ones from their pack. Then I would also have like would like to have a curtain, so a fairy light curtain that you can just hang above a window, and then it just like hangs down all the like throughout the whole entire size of the window. I think that would be like a very nice thing to have. And then also as like a hanging decoration, so like a ceiling decoration, to just have like a ceiling of fairy lights that you could hang from the ceiling would be very nice as well. And last but not least, more of a general point, is wall decorations like these. I wanted to use them a bunch. I don't really know how to describe them, but I think you can see them. So yeah, just like these. So also that same like sisal braided jute kind of material for like these round thingies. Those could be some hats that you can put on the wall, but also just like these circles. I don't know why, but I've seen them in a lot of interior decoration like photos that I really liked and I wanted to recreate, but this is just not really possible yet. There is one item from I think it's Laundry Day that's kind of similar, but I want something more like this, and also just like a nice wall of plants with like some lights and some wood would be very, very nice. Also not something that we direly need, but something that would just be nice to have. And yeah, that is my presentation on my personal stuff pack if I had the power to choose what build items would go into one. I hope you liked it. I hope you agree with some of my opinions, but also, as I said, I am so curious about your opinions on these sorts of topics and what kind of items you would like to have in The Sims. So if you have something where I'm like, oh my god, yes, how could I forget an item like that, I will totally like compile them all together with some nice little items that kind of explain what we're talking about, and maybe I'm going to make a post like this. Because I don't know, there is always the off chance that someone that has some sort of power about those things, or like a very talented CC creator, or someone is going to see our little compilation of items and get inspired. So that would be cool. And when you wish for something, you maybe sometimes just have to put it out in the world for someone to know that you wish for it. So that's what I did with this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope we'll see each other again.